Grad school, along with many other academic and professional spaces, wasn't built for first-gen and BIPOC folks like us. And yet here you are, navigating it all, often without the adequate support you deserve. That's why I created Office Hours with me, Doctora Yvette, a budget-friendly, high-impact coaching and consulting space designed specifically for first-gen, BIPOC, and or neurodivergent grad students, postdocs, and early career professionals. It's a 50-minute small group drop-in session where you can ask me anything about productivity, imposter phenomenon, burnout, setting boundaries, grad school apps, funding and financial literacy, career development, and more. You can even stop by and just have me chat it up with you about a recent podcast episode if that works for you. You'll receive strategies and a supportive space to figure things out together. Spots are capped at 8 participants to keep it intimate and interactive and to make sure I can answer everyone's questions. Sessions happen twice a month for a limited time. To be honest, I'm not sure how long I'll keep this offer available. So sign up now at the link in the show notes and let's get you the support that you deserve. Are you someone who has ever said out loud, I am full of ideas, I'm very creative, but somehow, despite all the many ideas that I have, I am not as great at getting started, or I need support with staying organized, or it takes me a while to finish it on time? If so, then you might be someone who is struggling with some action-oriented executive functioning skills. And you are going to benefit a lot from today's episode because that's exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about how to go from thinking to doing and the action-oriented executive functioning skills that you can strengthen today for graduate success. Welcome to the award-winning Grad School Femtoring Podcast, the place for first-gen BIPOCs to listen in on inclusive grad school stories and learn about personal development and productivity tips. This is Doctora Yvette Martinez-Vu, a certified coach, consultant, and author, and I will be serving as your Femtor, providing you with insider knowledge to help you reach your personal and professional goals. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Grad School Femtoring Podcast. This is your host, Doctora Yvette. Today, I am offering you part 2 of a 2-part mini-series on executive functioning skills. In the previous episode, I talked about executive functioning skills related to mastering your mental workspace and cognitive processing skills. For this episode, we're talking about all things action-oriented skills. And we're going to start out with reminding you that if you're new here and you haven't listened to the previous episode, go ahead and listen to that one. And if you're also new to executive functioning skills, go ahead and listen to a former episode called Executive Functioning Skills 101, which I will once again link in the show notes. And just as a quick reminder, what are executive functioning skills? They are skills that help you to execute. And that means any skills that help you to plan, focus, remember, and manage your actions. And for today, the first executive functioning skill I'm going to be talking about is task initiation and planning. So task initiation is what it sounds like it is. It's your ability to start something. And planning is your ability to map it out. So your ability to begin a complex task paired with your ability to map out the steps needed to complete said task. Why does this matter? Because if you are someone who procrastinates a lot or who struggles when you're working on long-term projects, then you might be someone who could benefit from some task initiation and planning skills. So let's talk about those strategies that can help you. If you're struggling with task initiation, I always say break it down into the smallest, most minute step and give yourself a very, very small window of time to work on it. So you can implement a 5-minute rule, for example, where you commit to starting this task that you've been avoiding for just 5 minutes. And that can help you to overcome that initial resistance that you've been facing. The second one is implementation of intentions. So using if-then statements. So if it's 10 a.m., then I'm going to start working on my literature review. And the if-then statements are helpful because you can also use it to account for your energy levels. So if I am feeling low energy, then I can work on this, whatever is an easier task for you. If I'm feeling more energetic, then I will work on and then name the thing that's harder to do. So this if-then statement can be helpful, especially when it's paired with very specific language around when you're going to work on something and what is the thing that you're going to work on. The third strategy you can implement is what I call backwards planning or reverse engineering. And this is where you start with a deadline and then you plan out every single step that you need to complete to get to that deadline. I do this all the time when I help grad students create their own dissertation timelines. We work backwards from their ideal dissertation defense date, and then we map out every single thing they need to do to get to that defense date. So those are the 3 task initiation and planning strategies. The second set of executive functioning skills I'm going to talk about today are organization and time management. So organization is your ability to create systems for your materials and the information you have, while time management is your ability to allocate time effectively. So your ability to plan out when and how you're going to do things in a way that works for you. This is helpful because this helps you when you're managing large volumes of information, which if you're a grad student, you're doing that all the time. This also helps you balance multiple responsibilities. And in today's age, who doesn't have multiple responsibilities? And then, of course, this is all going to help you to prevent burnout, because I don't want you waiting until the last minute to do all these things and then never giving yourself a break. So the first strategy is tied to figuring out a digital organizing system that works for you. And I heard about this system and I haven't implemented it myself, but it's called the PARA method, P-A-R-A. So where you organize your files based on projects, areas, resources, and archives. And I would make it even simpler than that. If you have a big, messy set of documents or Google Drive or Box or external hard drive, wherever you keep your information, one simple way to organize things is by thinking about your life in big, broad umbrella categories. What are the main areas of your life? Is it research? Is it teaching? Is it your personal life? Is it, you name it? And then moving things based on those umbrella categories. And I also recommending having an archive folder for all the random miscellaneous stuff that you no longer need, but you still want access to just in case. Create an archive folder. So you can implement this PARA method, or you can implement my umbrella method of thinking about your life in big umbrella categories and then moving all your files into those broad categories so that you, at the very least, can find things based on what area of their life that they're part of. Another thing I recommend, and I think a lot of people already do this, but it's still a good reminder, is to make time to review your week and make time to plan your week. So don't just plan your week ahead. You want to do this like 2-week review where you're constantly looking back at the previous week and then looking forward at the next week. Why? Because this can help you to plan ahead. In looking back, you can see, what didn't I get to last week that I need to get to this week? And what do I need to get to this week that's tied to what's coming up next week? So working in these 2-week windows of, let me look back at last week and reflect on it, look at what I have going on this week, and then think about how is what I'm working on this week going to impact next week. So it's like a 2 to 3 week window of reviewing your weeks that have come up and then your weeks ahead. Aside from this weekly review, the third strategy I want to mention, which I've mentioned before, but I just want to keep it simple for this episode, and this is the time blocking strategy. I have a separate episode dedicated to what is time blocking, how to time block. And then I have another episode that I recently released on what to do if time blocking doesn't work for you. But this is not that episode. This is just about recognizing that it can be helpful to assign specific blocks of time or specific areas of time if blocks feels too rigid for deep work or focus work or work that requires a lot of sustained attention and energy. This helps you because if you are intentional about setting aside that time, then you can protect that time. You can hold it as sacred and make sure that there are very few to no distractions during that time. But again, if time blocking doesn't work for you, go ahead and listen to my episode on what to do when time blocking doesn't work. I'm happy to link it in the show notes so you can take a look at it. Hi, Femties. I'm gently interrupting the show to let you know that you can be a sponsor for the Grad School Femtoring Podcast. Whether you're a small business owner, a book author, or part of an educational startup looking to reach a loyal audience, this is your chance to showcase your work. My listeners are first-gen BIPOC college students, grad students, and early career professionals who value mentorship, education, and empowerment. If it sounds like a fit, head to the show notes to learn more about sponsoring an episode. Okay, the third executive functioning skill I'm going to talk about, or the third set of skills I'm going to talk about, are inhibitory control and emotional regulation. So these are two more. What is inhibitory control? That's your ability to resist impulses. You can also call it impulse control. Go ahead. I should have just said that to begin with. And then what is emotional regulation? That's your ability to manage your emotions. And some of us need it more than others, especially during seasons and especially high stress seasons. We all could benefit from some ways to strengthen our impulse control and our emotional regulation. When I think about impulse control, I actually think a lot about teenagers, and I think about how we don't fully develop our brain until age 26. And so it's understandable that teenagers will want to engage in more high-risk behavior if they haven't developed the skills of impulse control, how to manage it. And same thing with emotional regulation, that sometimes goes hand in hand with impulse control. Why is this important to you as a fully grown adult? Most of my listeners are above age 26. Some of you are like 22, 23 or younger. You're in college age. That's okay. I'm happy to have you here. But for the most part, the good majority of you are already over 26 and likely have a fully developed brain. Nevertheless, these things come up. If you struggle with motivating, then you're struggling with one of these things. If you struggle with dealing with feedback, especially harsh feedback, then yeah, that's going to impact your ability to regulate your emotions. So it's still relevant to you. What are some strategies for strengthening these skills? I'm a big fan of tools. That's why I have a digital download that's a productivity bundle with 2 different spreadsheets, and one of them has 40 plus different tools you can use to boost your productivity. So there's a lot of tools you can use. But specifically, I want to call out 2 of them. One of them is called Freedom, and I remember using it in grad school. I don't use it anymore, but what I liked about it is that it helped to block distractions. Another one is called Forest, and I haven't personally used it, but I have had clients who used it. And it's really cool how you can visualize all the work you've been doing by building a forest in the app. So those are a couple of examples. There's a lot more tools you can use. Go ahead and check out my productivity bundle if you'd like. And I also recently added a Spoonie and chronic illness toolkit that includes 6 different set of digital downloads that can help you with boosting your productivity in ways that honor your time, your energy, your capacity. So check them out if they might be helpful to you. But going back to the strategies, another strategy that I recommend, and I often encourage this when working with my coaching clients, is to have them acknowledge what their core values are. So identify those core values and then make values-based decisions. So finding a system for yourself that helps you to make decisions, especially when you're feeling emotional or when you're struggling with feeling impulsive, is taking a step back to give yourself time to think through and process, does this align with my core values? And again, that can redirect your impulsive decisions, and it can help you to better manage your emotions in the moment. And then the third strategy I'm going to mention for this set of skills is naming and finding strategies to regulate your emotions. And for this, I'm a big fan of therapy and using emotion wheels. You can Google emotion wheels. I feel like most of us were not taught the full breadth and scope of the types of emotions that we can feel at any given time. And even I sometimes have to go back to my emotion wheel that I have. I printed it, I laminated it, and I have it sitting next to my desk so that I'm not just like, oh, I'm feeling bad today. Instead, I can be like, actually, I'm feeling tired. Actually, because I'm tired, I'm feeling unfocused, and I'm actually also tired, and I'm also actually achy. And what's another thing that's a deeper level of this is to not just think about your emotions, but also get yourself an emotion sensation wheel so you can link your emotions to what you're physically feeling in your body. That's the next level work that I'm doing right now, because as someone who deals with a lot of chronic pain, it helps me to be able to name what I'm feeling, both on an emotional level and also on a sensation level. And that can also help me to then identify techniques to help me to manage those emotions and sensations, like nervous system calming techniques. So try it out, get yourself an emotion wheel, get yourself a sensation wheel, and start to name how you're feeling. All right, that was it for this episode on helping you to go from thinking to doing, and the more action-oriented executive functioning skills that'll help you with graduate school, personal and professional success. Oh my gosh, sometimes I struggle to name my episodes because I feel like it is all interrelated, helping you to work on college success, grad school success, personal success, professional success. It keeps going. It keeps happening, no matter whether you're in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, and so on. We can all benefit from strengthening our executive functioning skills. And just as a quick review, what are the executive functioning skills we covered today? We covered task initiation, planning, organization, time management, impulse control, and emotional regulation. That's it for this episode. Like I said, I'm going to mention a lot of the different related podcast episodes for you to keep doing the added learning. And I'm also going to link my productivity bundle and my toolkit for spoonies and neurodivergent folks if you want to check it out too. Thanks so much for listening. And as always, I will talk to you all next time. Thanks so much for listening. If you liked what you heard, here are 3 ways you can support the show. The first is to make sure you're subscribed and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. The second way is to get your copy of my free resource kit linked in my show notes. This kit includes tools, worksheets, and podcast playlists on all things grad school, productivity, and personal development. The third way to support my show is to follow me on social media. You can find me on Instagram with the handle @Grad School Femtoring and on LinkedIn by searching my name. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.